All right. Welcome to Behind Them Sticks, everybody. It is me, Ham Solo, with the man, the myth, the legend, NeoGameSpark. He's been around forever. Bruh, how you been doing? What's going on? Yeah, bruh. Yeah, bruh. I've had it for a little while. But just to answer your question, I've been doing fantastic. Been playing all types of different retro games lately. Just kind of reaching back into the past, trying to figure out why I got so big into gaming. And I tell you what, some of it is pretty cringy and hard to play back again. But I tell you what, but I tell you what, some of these games like I just can't believe they got made. Like recently, I've been playing some Scarface. If you ever played that game, which was released on like PlayStation 2 and Xbox, I went out and paid a hefty price for that, which would be 60 bucks. I paid 60 bucks for that game. But I Oh yeah, for a PS2 game, but I just had to have it, man. It's just one of those things that I collect some games, and that's just one game I had to have because it's kind of hard to find. But but yeah, man, that's how I've been doing. But yeah, tell me a little bit about how you've been doing, bruh. What's been going on with you? What's life like?
Jack couldn't.
I know I'm not alone in saying that. So the fact that January has been going pretty smooth in my life, it's been great. Everyone's in good spirits and good health, and I've been able to, because January is a pretty dry month when it comes to gaming news and just game releases in general. I've gotten a chance to go back and either replay some of my favorite games or just clear through a lot of stuff in my backlog. So I've just been doing a lot of gaming, man. I'm like, this is probably the most gaming that I've done in years, man. Because you know how it is sometimes when you are busy with work
Oh yeah.
or your relationships or things like that, gaming and all your hobbies take a back seat. But when you just find those little pockets of time to dedicate to just nothing but gaming, like bro, Sunday, for example, man, I probably spent at least 8 hours out of that day gaming. I don't know about y'all, but when was the last time y'all spent 8 hours straight gaming? And dude, I thought I'd be tired after it, but it was a beautiful, beautiful feeling, man. Just sitting down and getting to what we love. It was great.
It's been a little while since I did 8 hours straight. Now I've
Mm,
done like 4 or 5 hours, but then like it's like 1, 2, 3 in the morning, and I'm just like, bro, I gotta get to sleep or something like
yep.
that. But 8 hours straight, I mean,
Eight
you
hours
must have
straight,
been
man.
Was it the same game?
It was the same game. I was replaying Horizon Zero Dawn because
Okay,
Forbidden West is coming out in less than a month. So I was like, let me go back and reacclimate myself with Aloy in this game. And bro, it was just something about the gameplay loop of taking down these mechanical beasts and just how much fun that was. It just hooked me in. And then I
absolutely.
realized after I finished up the main game, I had yet to touch the DLC. So this is my first time going through the Forbidden Wilds content and just seeing that. And man, it's like, I don't know for those out there who have played Horizon or those who haven't, what Gorilla was able to pull off with that game from like a visual standpoint is insane. Like I'm playing it on the PS5 now. It's got the 60 frames patch and
Yeah,
everything. But
looks
it
better than ever
looks
now.
yeah, it looks even better than and even better than like most of the games that we got out now. And it's crazy to think that now they're gonna try to one up themselves in just a few weeks. So it's just been a fun time just going through that, man.
Fantastic, beautiful game, but bruh,
Mm.
let's work on that fast travel a little bit in
Oh
that game, man, because
man.
like getting around in that game drives me insane, and some of the animals are just so sluggish, man. I feel like I'm playing Extraction walking in the goop. It's
Yup,
just it's just
yeah.
so
It's one
slow
of those things when it
sometimes.
came to traversal, there's just a lot of running around and that was like one of my complaints about the game. Since it doesn't have an autosave system, you had to rely on campfires, which
Yep.
it isn't a big deal in the grand scheme of things because they're pretty abundant. But man, sometimes when you're just going out and you're just hunting those creatures and you don't go to any save points and you die, especially if you're playing on the harder difficulties, that can send you back quite a bit, man. And it's just Horizon is one of those games where it comes out, it's solid, but there's a lot of room for improvement. As you said, the fast travel system. One of my complaints was there wasn't really much diversity going on with the game's world. I mean, you pretty much had static environments with the exception of the frozen wild section. But I'm seeing a lot of that stuff being changed in the sequel. We're getting a lot more diversity with that.
The sequel
And,
looks absolutely just jaw dropping. Like that
whew,
game,
man.
just like the way that even old boy is like talking in his frustration or his like angst to do something about
Hmm.
said situation is just like it looks so real, but like you can tell that it's still a video game and whatnot. But it looks so like just the I mean, that was my biggest complaint about the first one. Was the first one was just like it was just lacking in feeling in some areas where it's like, well,
Felt
Aloy
stiff.
looks like Aloy looks like she just is tired of the game that she's in right now and
Yeah.
wants to
Yeah.
escape that, like wants to escape the Matrix. She's done with this
Yep.
situation that she's in. So I'm really excited with the next one. The commercials and everything looked packed and full of excitement for sure.
Yes, sir.
But let me ask you real quick so we can get this started. What gaming and social media platforms can people find you on to constantly follow you? Like, I mean, like you say in your bio, stalk me. Like where's what's the way for people to stalk you?
Yeah, of course. So, as far as social media outlets are concerned, I congregate the most on Twitter. That's my preferred platform. That's where I feel I can express myself the best in terms of like talking to the abyss, talking to the void. I love Twitter. I love the interactions that I have. We formed a really incredible community over there, and it's how I meet so many awesome new folk every day. And then other than that, if people do want to follow me for my stories and occasional posts about food, I do have an Instagram account, which is Phantom NGS. So it's the first, like basically the main parts of my YouTube username, the NGS, and then you add Phantom in front of that. And then my where most people actually know me from, which is weird. I'm leaving this one for last, but my YouTube channel, youtube.com/NeoGameSpark, which is where I upload videos. I do live streams, and I've been very thankful to have been doing this for close to 14 years, which is absolutely insane to think that I've been making videos on the internet for half my life. It's actually kind of wild.
That's insane. Like I looked on there, like just doing my little research, because you gotta do that when you're
Got to.
interviewing somebody. You gotta see what's. I mean, that's my show, Behind Them Sticks.
Yes,
I gotta get behind them
exactly.
sticks.
If you can't get behind them sticks, man, what are we doing here? What are we doing with our life, man? We in the swamp.
And I seen that you previously went by a different name,
Yes.
if that's correct, and that was
Yes, sir.
what was it, Kayuman or
Cayuman. So, for those
like
who
where
don't
did you
know,
get that name from? Like, give me some history here, because
I'll give you some history. We're gonna go behind the sticks for this one. So for those, okay, so I gotta take it back. NeoGameSpark is actually not my very first YouTube channel. So I come from an era in YouTube where, man, people want to talk about the copyright issues now and everything that's going on with the YouTube police. Man, back in the day, you could get suspended for literally anything, and I'm talking about uploading gameplay footage. So I first got onto the YouTube scene in 2007, and one of the reasons why I started a YouTube channel was because I was into because I'm a big anime nerd. If y'all couldn't tell by the stuff in the background, I've got the Dragon Ball Z wall scroll, and obviously it's not anime, but Persona 5, which is heavily inspired anime aesthetic, Kingdom Hearts. I
and
love
you
I love
guys,
a
if
lot
you
of
watch
Japanese
his
culture.
previous stuff, he lets his hair down on some of
Yes.
these subjects.
Absolutely. Bro, like I've got like dude, like this is a deep cut. It's a deep cut right here, but bro, I've got the Naruto headband right here. Like
Ooh.
we all about that anime life here. But the reason why I started the channel was because back then YouTube it wasn't really a place where people go and watch content as they do now. People on YouTube back in the day, it was just where they post like funny viral clips. But one thing I was into was anime and also anime video games. And since there wasn't really a space where I could just upload those videos for people to see, I was like, I might as well. So I used my clever internet tools at the time, and I downloaded videos from gaming websites, and I just uploaded them onto YouTube for people to see. And slowly but surely, people started to watch them. But the most interesting part was people started to comment. And then that was like my first interaction with folks online. Like, oh, wow, there are these people that also like anime video games like me. And now we can talk about these things. So I was using those videos as kind of like an internet forum chat room of sorts for people with like-minded interests. So that YouTube channel, I honestly just created it because I'm a big Naruto fan, and there's this one character on the show named Rock Lee, and he has these
Rock
things
Lee, the
called,
man.
yes, sir, Taijutsu God. He has the things, the 8 gates, right? And I'm gonna spare those who aren't into anime the fine details, but basically in Japanese, one of the gates is called Kyumon, right? So Cumon is one of the gates that he opens up to unlock his powers. And I was like, yeah, I really like that because the way he said it in the show sounded so dope. So I named my YouTube channel Cumon, thought nothing of it. Then that account got taken down. And so what's the next thing you do? Well, I wanted people to follow me. So let me put a name that they would know, Cumon 2. And that's where I got my first like big bump on YouTube. So this is before the NeoGameSpark days, but I wanted to be proactive and think to myself, okay, I need to have a backup channel just in case. But I wanted to diversify myself. Like I was doing like big picture stuff as way back as like 2008. Like I want to have a name that sticks, which is where the NeoGameSpark thing came in. I was a big fan of the game shows back in the day, like G4, and I wanted a name that would stick. So I was thinking like game something, game this, game that. Everything was taken. What about GameSpark? That sounds pretty dope. That was taken. And then back then YouTube had this, I don't know if they still have it now, but they have this like they had an auto fill-in thing where if your name is taken, they come up with some suggestions to put like either in the front of the name or behind it. And they were just like, what about NeoGameSpark? And I was like, yeah, sure, NeoGameSpark sounds cool. Created that account, thought nothing of it until Q2 got taken down because of the copyrighted footage of the video games, which is crazy that video game footage was considered copyrighted. Especially nowadays where it's like YouTube gaming is its own thing.
Right.
But yeah, that's the NeoGameSpark. That was the next channel I went on to. So that was my third channel. And at that point, I was just like, listen, if this channel gets taken down, I think I'm done. And well, 14 years later, we're still here. So evidently not.
Yeah, and you've got a lot of videos throughout that time period.
Yes.
So many years of working. And you know what? You got to give it up to the support system around you. You must have had some pretty good people in the background helping you out, letting you know, keep going, keep working at it. So, I mean, big ups to you, man. Congratulations. And
Thank you.
continue pushing, man. You're
Thank
only
you,
going to
bro.
get
Thank
bigger, and you know that. And you know
Yeah,
that.
it's always been, YouTube has always been that. It's like, I kind of look at YouTube kind of like a diary of sorts where I would just go on there, I'd speak my piece. I never really sought out for YouTube for it to be like a success thing, like chase trends. I have to speak about this. I have to, talk about drama. It was just a place I wanted to go to speak my piece on something like, hey, there's this new Naruto game coming out and I think it looks kind of cool. Or, Kingdom Hearts. I love Kingdom Hearts. Let's theorize and speculate on things. Which is why I've been able to do YouTube for so many years because no matter how much time passes in between videos, like let's just say I take a hiatus for a few weeks or something, I always come back because there's always something that I want to talk about. And being able to meet so many incredible individuals along the way is what kind of brought it to a whole different level because it wasn't just me speaking on these things. It was me seeing other people in the comment section and then me seeing other creators and them growing. And then where technology has grown since then, we can now have podcasts and live shows like behind the sticks and everything. It's a beautiful thing. And honestly, it's one of those things where people always ask, is there going to come a point where you stop doing YouTube videos? And I'm like, well, if I stop doing YouTube videos, that means I'm going to stop talking. And I don't think that's slowing down anytime soon.
Well, same, and the passion as well with it, like what you're talking about, what you like. I mean, for me particularly, I don't want to like hit up friends and stuff that I know don't care anything about video games or don't care anything about, what's going on in the gaming. I'm not going to hit up, hey, mom, did you know Elden Ring just
Yeah,
I
mom.
mean, what am I going to do with that information?
She might be a big Soulsborne fan. You never know, man. Don't take that away from her.
I'll leave it on the court, but I'll let her come to me if she's curious about that. I'm not going to just run to her and let her know. But anyways, So throughout your, content that you've been creating with anime, video games, I mean, you had the whole why you should get a, Nintendo Switch and stuff like that,
Hmm.
in a little bit ago.
Yeah.
At what point did you think, like, let's get strictly to the gaming part? Why is gaming important for you?
Mm. So I think, like with most things that I enjoy in life, the power that movies and music and books and video games, the power that they have to transport us into these worlds for a brief amount of time, or in some cases for hours on end, is something so beautiful because you're able to experience someone else's work and their passion and their creativity, and you're vicariously living through the stories that they're telling you. You're vicariously living through them. And I always thought that was really beautiful because we all go through stuff in our lives, our day-to-day lives, whether it's good or bad. And being able to see someone's passions and how they transform that into a work of art is beautiful, which is why it doesn't matter like how much of a dry spell we have in gaming, or people always do the thing, is gaming better now or was it better back then? I think it's better every single year. It doesn't matter because you're getting to see people's passions and their creativities and what fuels them and what drives them. And that's something I love about gaming, because no matter how many games I play, there's always going to be something that I've never experienced, and it hits me in so many different ways. And it's insane because these are just pixels. These are just pixels. These are numbers that people type into a computer, and they've somehow created these sprawling worlds with deep, and now and especially in the past 15 years, deep, rich emotional character stories and narratives. And it's just, it's a sight to behold, man. So gaming is always going to have a very important place in my life because it touches me and affects me the same way as anything else does in my life. The way people have sports and that fills the proverbial cup in their life, that's what gaming does for me.
Ah, beautiful answer, my man. Beautiful answer. But you loving gaming, at some point you must have been like, man, like I like gaming and anime and stuff so much.
Mhm.
At what point were you like, I need to just stop what I'm doing and stop, talking like we were just talking about, talking to my family and my
Mm.
and my immediate friends about it. I need to let the world know how I'm feeling. At what point did you like think, I'm gonna start making content right now and just let everybody know what's cracking?
Honestly, bro, I getting onto YouTube, I had no real inclination that this was gonna even do anything. It was something I did as a hobby because growing up around me, I didn't really have a lot of people who were into video games like that or into or anime and manga. I mean, there were some people, but you know how like just because someone's into similar things as you, that doesn't automatically make them your friend or compatible.
Right, yes.
So it was a bunch of those people where it's like I never really fit in with those folk. So I was bored and I started, recording these videos of things like at first it started out as using my dad's old camera and just filming stuff in my room, like, oh, here's this and here's that. And then I decided to upload them onto YouTube because I saw other people were doing it. But it really clicked when the community aspect started forming, when I started to see that there were thousands and millions of people who were just like me, and they just didn't have that outlet. Some people were very fortunate to grow up in a community where they went to their laundromat and they played things like Mortal Kombat or Street Fighter, or they had cousins and things like that who were able to do that. I never had that opportunity because most of my cousins lived on the other side of the country. I only saw them for holidays and things like that. And most of my friends, I mean, some were into games, but they weren't into like, like anime or manga, things like that. It's just, it was a little too niche at the time for some folk.
Yeah, they're
So
like in
that's
the games, like you're in the games, they're in the games,
yeah.
but it's kind of like I can just go on to Xbox Live or Xbox something or like PlayStation
Hmm.
or something like that. And I actually find actual friends that I'm actually into playing these games with, but they're just into games. We're not just because they're in the games and I'm in the games does not mean we are the same.
Yeah, like my friends who were into games, they were into stuff like Def Jam and Grand Theft Auto, which no problems with that. They're
Great
fantastic
games.
franchises. But trying to find someone who's into like Kingdom Hearts, Nah, there was only one other person I know who was into Kingdom Hearts at the time, and that was a friend of my sister who also happened to be really big into anime and manga. So it just kind of correlated. But yeah, that's that being on YouTube and talking about this stuff is honestly what prompted me to keep going, just because I had people to discuss this stuff with.
Yeah, man, absolutely. And we've all been in that situation a million times where it's like, yo, here's my gamer tag, hit me up. You know what I'm
Uh-huh.
saying? And then
Yes,
y'all never
sir.
talk again. Or
Yep.
y'all ran into each other at the gas station or something like that. And you're like, oh man, you're in the games. I had no idea. And y'all never talk. Y'all might run into each other again before you end
Hmm.
up actually playing any kind of games or whatnot together. Just because you're not into the same kind of games, even though you're friends outside of work or school or whatnot.
Yeah. And it's
Uh,
fine. There's nothing really wrong with that, because I'm sure that they have some interests that I'm not into. And that's perfectly fine, because we as human beings we're multifaceted, you know?
Absolutely, absolutely. So, moving on, I'm kind of wondering what your most beloved console throughout all time is. Like, do you
Mm.
have a special one that you just keep close to your heart that you're just like, if I was stuck on an island right now,
Yeah.
I'd have to bring this and all the games that come with it?
Oh man, definitely. Because I mean, that's the thing. Because when people always ask, like, because sometimes you can have a favorite game, and then you can have a favorite console. And if that favorite game exists, does that mean that the console it's on is also your favorite console? I don't really subscribe to that, because, like, if I have a favorite game, that doesn't necessarily mean that the console it was on I'll be stuck with that, because there's a ton of consoles out there, like the Dreamcast, for example. It's got a great lineup, but would you really take the Dreamcast over something like, I don't know, the PS2 or the PS4, or something that has just infinitely more games available to you? So for me, my favorite console of all time is going to be the PlayStation 2, just
Okay.
because of the diversity of the lineup, and it got me into so many different games I didn't even know were possible. I mean, that was the system that I played, Kingdom Hearts on. That was the system that I played Jack and Daxter on. That was the system that introduced me to SOCOM. That was the system that introduced me to Devil May Cry. So many, so many, so many, so many franchises, different genres. They were firing on all cylinders. It did not matter whether it was from the East or the West. And yeah, to this day, if you stuck me on a desert island, I would take a PlayStation 2, because I got a loophole. I can also play PlayStation 1 games. So that's all the Squaresoft games right there.
There you go. Yeah, man. So there's your little screw
Mm-hmm.
that.
Yes,
I'm bringing
sir.
the I'm bringing this gen with me too.
Yes, sir. That's
We
how we
eating.
do it, man.
That's what's up. So with that being said, is there a most memorable moment that you have with that console back in
Mm.
the day that you could let us know about?
Oh man, I mean, dude, there's so many moments to list. It's kind of like the cliche answer, but one of my all-time favorite moments was actually when I got the PlayStation 2. It was New Year's 2002, and that year in particular, we had actually celebrated Christmas a little later on. So we didn't celebrate on the day; we celebrated on New Year's, and we had opened up our gifts exactly at midnight. And I remember we got the PS2. I got Dragon Ball Z Budokai. My sister got
Let's
Kingdom
go.
Hearts. Yes, sir. That Budokai life, man. Yes, sir.
Yeah,
You
man.
know it. Oh man. Oh, still to this day, some of the best cutscenes in any Dragon Ball game. Like that.
Hmm.
That was ahead of its time, straight up, dude.
No, that was a
Oh,
fantastic game. I absolutely
mhm.
loved. I mean, it's repetitive, and I've seen
Yeah.
it 8 million times, but I just something about that Frieza saga, man. It's just like
Yes.
I just love
Absolutely.
the spirit bomb with that. I mean, even the part where Frieza's like pretty much dead, and he still tries to attack. Like, bruh,
You
stop!
fool!
Yeah, you fool! And just
Dude, that scene, and then Gohan when he turned Super Saiyan 2 and he was going up against Cell Jr., he's like,
sell.
"That's it. I'm
Oh
finished. You guys
man.
are dead." I love so much about that. But the thing that I remember the most was because we opened up our gifts exactly at midnight on New Year's, technically New Year's Day. We started playing Kingdom Hearts, and my sister and I were posted up in the bedroom playing through Kingdom Hearts, and just like looking at like the graphics of the intro and going through the game. And the reason why this is so memorable, I mean, not only because it was just an emotional moment between me and my sister, we didn't have a memory card, and we realized that when it was time to turn off the game.
Ugh.
So we had put like 3 hours into it. And then we realized we have no way to save this because like we had just come off of the N64 that it saved everything on the cartridge, and so
Yeah.
we didn't have that, and we're like, what are we gonna do? And so basically we had to end up waiting an entire week until my dad was able to scoop us up memory cards from Best Buy. And bro, when I tell you the pain of having to choose whether or not you wanted to leave your PS2 on all night and risk it overheating or just restarting the game constantly, man. And mind you, this is what folks don't forget, what don't realize is that this is before you could skip cutscenes. This is before you could do any of that. So you had to sit through every single damn cutscene in
I
every
know.
game.
You're,
Oh,
you're giving me Shinmu flashbacks of
uh-huh.
not having that VMU or memory card. You have to there's a beginning cutscene in that game that is like 9 minutes long.
Oh, Jesus.
And I had a disc that was like is in not the best shape. So every time after that cutscene, it gets stuck on a loading screen. So then I would go clean the disc, put it back in, and I'd have to wait through that whole cutscene over and over just to see if it was clean enough to play. And
Mm-hmm.
then I just gave up and went on ahead and bought another copy.
Hey, those are the gamer struggles back in the day. Folks don't realize it now with your digital downloads and everything. Like it, we was really about that life. But another moment that I really hold, and this one's more. I say it's more of a modern memory. It happened 12 years ago.
It
But
ain't that modern
yeah, I know
anymore.
it ain't that modern anymore. The time in which more time has passed from that Kingdom Hearts memory to the memory I'm about to tell you than the time it would have been from that Kingdom Hearts memory to the first memory. So that was like 7
Following you.
years versus now, which is like 12 years removed. It's crazy. But it was during the 360 days, right?
Okay.
I'll never forget this. It was summer 2009. One of my very first like huge online games that I got addicted to was Call of Duty World at War. Not the multiplayer, but the 4-player zombies co-op mode.
Yep. I think
We was
everybody was
on
addicted to that.
Yeah, we was on that from day one with Nocturne and Toten, and every single time they dropped the DLC, we was on it. And I'll never forget when they were about to drop the last one, which was Doris. And this is the weirdest thing because like this is before the era of Twitter where you go online and it tells you exactly when everything is going to drop. So we were all on Xbox Live waiting for the DLC to drop. We knew it was dropping on this day in August. We didn't know what time though. So we were on an Xbox party for like 12 hours straight, just wondering, okay, is it going to drop at 9 a.m. in the morning? Is it going to be 9 p.m. at night? And mind you, like we all rotated in and out. Like some of us, went to go get
Y'all were
food,
sweating though.
we was sweating, we was waiting. And then it finally dropped like 9 something. It was a really weird time. But then, man, we was on that from like 9 to 3:30 in the morning. And it was like
No
time.
breaks.
Yeah, it was like time had frozen in place. We weren't even thinking about nothing. And then we look, it's like, whew. And the second you acknowledge that time has passed, that's when the fatigue hits in.
Yes. Oh my goodness. That happened
Yep.
with me with Borderlands 2. I know what you're talking about. I played that game. Not even kidding. I said
Mm,
in the green room earlier. I mean,
yes.
or earlier in the show when you were talking about
Yeah.
8 hours straight. I played
Uh-huh.
Borderlands 2 20 hours straight.
What? You got to tell me the story behind that one for a second. Because
Oh
like
my
I said, I play
goodness.
games for 8 hours straight, but mind you, it's 8 hours of me being posted up in the bed, playing, going downstairs, getting some food, coming back. But 20 hours, bro? That's some
My
time.
God. Yeah,
What happened there?
that was awful. I got kicked out of old boy's house that day
Mm,
because not from old boy. His
mm.
girl was like, "You got to get up out of here."
Yep.
Like you're
Yep.
keeping my boy on the sticks too long. But yeah,
Oh man.
I mean there were multiple food orders,
Hell
we
yeah.
kicking back in the crib just I was the siren. We went from the beginning to the end of that game,
Oh
just in that
man.
sit through. And you know how long Borderlands 2 is.
That's some quality
I
time right
mean,
there,
yeah,
bro.
yeah, it was some time. And yeah, I went from level 0 to having the B shield and all that stuff where like I pretty much couldn't be taken down. And Borderlands 2 Maya was just disgusting
Dude,
in that game.
Borderlands 2 is still my favorite one out of the series. Like
Same,
I
facts.
haven't messed with 3. I did play the pre-sequel, but 2, they just got everything right with that one. It was so good.
Handsome Jack was just So
Great villain.
like the
Great villain.
perfect villain of all the Borderlands 3. The villains are kind of lack of a better term, cheesy.
Yeah.
I mean, but I mean, it's still a really good game, really great guns, really good action, but like, it's just kind of cheesy compared to how threatening and kind of disrespectful Jack was. He was an asshole, man.
When you think of villains right there, Handsome Jack, straight up, bro. Like even in the Telltale game where he was there with like the hologram projections or whatever.
Yep.
Like he was still causing issues, bro.
All right, man. Well, here's kind of a fun one I'm gonna do. I do this on a lot of my episodes, pretty much all my episodes. It's a little game without overthinking. What's the first publisher, or actually, I'm gonna say the publisher or developer, and I want you to spit out the first game that comes to your mind.
Go ahead.
All right, so this might get a little wild. I don't know where this might go, but the first one the first one I'm gonna throw at you is THQ.
CHQ, you draw. Ooh. Coincidentally, that was, I think, the last game, probably not the last game, but the last major game, infamous game that they launched before they went under, and then they were their corpse was resurrected.
Yeah, they ain't doing a whole lot no more.
Oh no, man.
All right, how about this one? This is gonna be fun. Midway.
Oh, they used to publish Mortal Kombat back in the day, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so Mortal Kombat. I'm gonna go with that one. Yeah.
Okay, and they also did Blitz.
Yes, they did. Blitz.
Midway presents.
Yep. I always got to check myself because I know some of these franchises, they always exchange hands, you know, like it's at one place for a little bit, then at another.
I know you could say that about Acclaim too, because Acclaim did Mortal Kombat as well.
Yeah. There's a whole generation now that only knows Mortal Kombat as WB.
Yeah, right, and that's been in a lot of hands.
Yeah, man.
All right, let's go with the recently or going to be, still going through the motions, Activision.
Straight up.
What do you think?
Because I mean, this one is kind of unfair because we just mentioned it, Call of Duty World at War.
Yeah,
we just mentioned that. But if I wasn't thinking, I would probably say, just because I'm in a big Transformers mood, the Transformers games that High Moon Studio worked on, the Cybertron games. Very, very good games. If you can track them down and play them, fantastic stuff.
Yeah, expensive.
Yeah, very expensive. You're gonna be spending. Well, I mean, it's not like crazy expensitive, but I mean, you can get them for like $20 or so.
Yeah. It's no Persona PSP, but
yeah. You ain't got a mortgage in your house. You ain't got a mortgage in your house for that shit, man. No worries.
But all right, moving on. EA.
First thing I think of is EA Big. Like it's the first thing I think of EA.
That's big. Because that was like the best time for EA. Like sports games was big.
Yep. Straight up. But honestly, if the first thing I think of with EA just comes to mind is Where's the Sounds is freaking Tiger Woods. It's the first thing. Because I don't want to say stuff like, because it's too rehearsed when you think EA. Oh, Mass Effect. I'm like, okay. All right, but for me, I'm like Tiger Woods. Like that's what I remember growing up. Straight up, like memories right there. Boom, ingrained in the brain.
Right. Insomniac.
Oh, obviously Ratchet and Clank.
Ooh, I was thinking you were gonna say Miles Morales, but
I see, but that's too easy. Like for me,
but how is Ratchet and Clank not too easy, bro?
Well, because Ratchet and Clank was ingrained. Because there's things that are ingrained in my brain. And for some people out there, Mass Effect might be ingrained in their brain. For me, it's like Ratchet and Clank, because Ratchet and Clank, going commando, up your arsenal, playing multiplayer with the boys, back in the PS2 with the multi-tap. I don't know.
The multi-tap. Oh, man.
Back when we had to spend money to get 4-player co-op on PS2.
Get that L stick going on.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, with the 4. Yeah, A, B, C, and D, I think is what they used to call them back in the day instead of 1, 2, 3, and 4 or something like that.
Yeah, to differentiate it. Yeah.
Yep. Okay. Let's do a couple more. I'm gonna go with for the next one, Rockstar.
Oh, obviously Grand Theft Auto, but you know the second thing I would think of, Manhunt.
Manhunt.
Manhunt, bro.
I wouldn't even
Manhunt.
thought of that one.
I would have. The reason why I think of Manhunt is because I grew up, like my mom was very like she wasn't religious, but she was very much so one of those parents who she didn't want me playing anything mature rated. In some cases, nothing teen rated. Anything with guns, blood, guts, that stuff. No,
Hey,
like
here's the Mortal Kombat on the Super Nintendo. There you go.
exactly. So I had to sneak a lot of stuff into the house if I wanted to play it. And I remember Manhunt was like one of the games that I had made an attempt to sneak, but then I just looked at it in the magazine and I was just like, there is no way that this is gonna fly. If I even like I can't explain something like that. With Grand Theft Auto, if I'm in the world and I'm not doing anything, I could sort of explain that to my mom. But with Manhunt, there's just no explaining that. Like not at all. Like that's it's just like, yeah, here it is. Just take me to jail. That's it.
I don't think you can really explain any Rockstar game to a parent.
Well, in certain scenes like Bully, if you're not doing the bullying stuff, you can
Yeah.
sort of explain that.
Oh
And
my goodness.
of course,
Mom
Rockstar.
comes around the corner, you just walking down the hall, just mind your
playing a
business,
school
checking the
game.
locker.
This is Harry Potter. This is Harry Potter, mom. Or you could explain. Was it that Rockstar table tennis game, the pool game, that thing they came out with? You can
Don't
explain
know
that.
that one off the top of my head.
Yeah, I think it came out. I think the 360 early 360 days. I want to say.
I can tell you what, when I think of Rockstar, I don't think of no pool, no billiards.
You don't think about playing cousin. You don't think about playing bowling with your cousin. Oh my god, how can you not do that?
Absolutely not. The only bowling game I can think of is Tin Pin Alley from way back in the day.
Oh snap!
That was
Damn,
my joint.
That's a classic right there.
All right, man. And then I want to end it with Sony Interactive.
The first thing that obviously comes to mind is that PS1 startup sound effect.
I know. If you didn't get to the second screen, the disc ain't working.
Yep, that's it. You screwed, man. And that PS2, and with the PS2 is even worse. You have to pray that it actually goes there and it doesn't do the red thing.
Yes.
But if I'm thinking Sony Interactive, the first game that immediately comes to mind for me is Jak and Daxter: The Precursor Legacy.
Wow.
Yes, sir.
He went
Yes,
back.
sir.
He
Yes,
went
sir,
back.
man. So good.
All right, so now we're gonna move it on to the next subject. Here's something that I don't want it to be taken negatively at all, but what is like a kind of game that you just don't mess around with? You ain't playing, like you see it, you see that type of game come on, and you're just like, nope.
Yeah, so honestly, anything where you got to be creative. I mean, it's ironic because technically when you're a content creator, you are a creative. But anything that like stuff like Minecraft, Dreams, Dragon Quest Builders, like those kind of games, I see the appeal in them. I can totally
So I ain't
understand why
inviting you
people
to
love
play
them.
Ark Survival Evolved with me.
Exactly. Like
No,
any of those
no.
games, I'm like, no. Like Grounded, for example, I streamed a bit of that. I had fun with the like 30 minutes they gave us when it launched. But then like the other stuff that you have to do, I'm like, all right, so what else is the point of the game? Well, it's like, well, you got to build your base and everything. And I'm like, okay, so there's really nothing else you do. No, it's just like a survival game and you build stuff. So like those type of like games where you have to be creative and you have to build and you have to survive, and I don't know, like those things I can enjoy in short bursts, but they're not really my cup of tea.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Yeah. I mean, it's pretty nice when there's a story attached to it. I mean,
Yeah.
and to tell you what, I mean, that was a big deal for me in Ark. I love that game, put a lot of time into it, but not having any story, there would be sometimes I'd turn on the game and then shut it right back off because I'm just like, bro, I ain't got time to build a third house right now.
Yeah.
For just another stable animals just to run around in and whatnot. So I feel you on that. But Arc 2 is going to be coming out, and that's supposed to have some story behind it. They got Vin Diesel
They got
in
Vin
it.
Diesel. They got some family.
Yeah.
Into that, man.
It's about
Straight
family
up,
this
man.
time, so I'm ready to go. I'm like, let's go. We got some family up in here. But All right, so that's the game that you're not really, or the types of games that you're not really into. But let's go back to this last year, 2021, and I'm
Mm.
just kind of curious if you were to pick three games of any platform or whatnot, what were those three games like? What were your favorite ones, and then pick one that just kind of stood above everything else and really flexed for 2021.
Yeah. So the thing about like the past 2 years in gaming is that I'm definitely grading those years on a curve, given the worldwide situation that we're in and how, man, we're still waiting on some of the games that we were promised in 2020 to come out now, which is insane to
Right.
think about. But yeah, so there really wasn't, if I'm talking about like games that set the world on fire, we really didn't have any of those in the past year. We had a lot of like good quality, good serviceable games. So the three that come out that stand out to me, the first one being Death's Door. That was a game because normally, like when it comes to buying games, if unless it's something that I'm really like stupidly, ridiculously hyped for, I don't buy games day one. I always wait for them to go on sale. And with the time it takes me to finish games, they always go on sale half off, 60% off. And that's how I buy games. But I noticed Death's Door when we were watching the Xbox, I think it was the Xbox Indie stream. We were streaming it, and everyone in the chat went from like half asleep to like, what's this game where you play as a bird and you chopping dudes up with a sword? Like, what's this all
Yes.
about? And so it looked really interesting. And then, when it came out, the word of mouth exploded on it. And I was like, all right, I'll buy it on launch, see what it is. It's $15. Why not? And I ended up falling in love with this like little mini Dark Souls slash Legend of Zelda type of game. And I had a lot of fun with that, especially with how little people worked on it. It's great, um, like aesthetic design. It's got nice soundtrack. It's got a lot of good things about it, and I really enjoyed Death's Door. In addition to that, another one that took me by surprise was Guardians of the Galaxy, which was my
Whoa.
game of the year,
I
dude.
was
And let
ready
me
to
tell you,
I was
oh,
ready to give that game an L before it even came
yep,
out, and then it
same here.
slapped me dead in the face because I was so mad about the Avengers.
Yeah,
Like I turned on the Avengers, played it for like an hour, and I was just like, I don't
this
know.
ain't
It's
it,
just not.
Chief.
Yeah, it's just not for me. I'm good. But like, yeah. Continue.
Yeah, the Guardians of the Galaxy. I remember when it was revealed, I was like, first things first, I just looked like that game had such bad press. Like the initial showcase was it was running choppy. Like all the trailers looked really underwhelming. They were
Very.
showing all the wrong stuff. And then they said, hey, it's coming out this year. I'm like, what? Like, no. This is gonna be another L. Square Enix, whoever gave them the Marvel license, like we now know what the L in the Marvel Square Enix license stands for. But then it was the craziest thing, like with Death's Door, the word of mouth on this game exploded. And I was like, okay, is this the media being the media and trying to overhype something, or is this legit? And then when I start seeing like people in the community, people on my timeline, they're saying great things like, yo, you got to get this. So I was like, you know what? I think I'll pick this up. And shout out to my homie, Randall Thor 19, the man with the million. He hit me up in the DM saying, yo, bro, I got a spare code for this game if you want it here. And I was like, are you for real, man? And he's like, yeah, just take it, have it, bro. Have fun. I love the game. And I was like, wow. So I ended up playing it and absolutely loving it. The game, listen, if you guys are on the fence about Guardians of the Galaxy and people on the internet have not convinced you otherwise, give it a shot. Narratively, it is one of the best games of the year. It is easily one of the best comic book games of all time. The graphics are fantastic. Combat is a little wonky,
Yeah,
but
combat could be a little bit like just
yeah,
cleaner. It's a little
yeah,
like it's a little like I don't know, like it feels like some of the characters like mushing into each other.
yep.
Sometimes it just doesn't look exactly right, but like you almost give it a pass because it's just like so dope.
It's
like
so yeah,
like the
exactly,
teamwork is just so cool in
dude.
that game.
And the interactions with the character, the dialogue, it's a very dialogue heavy game, but in all the right ways because the writing is phenomenal. And I'd expect nothing less from the Deus Ex team. Like, if there was a studio that would actually give us really compelling dialogue in a superhero game, it would be the Deus Ex team. Like, compare and contrast the dialogue in that game to the Avengers game, and there's just no competition. So yeah, that for me was the sleeper hit of the year. It was my game of the year. And then the next one, which honestly, like, I'm still shocked every single time I go back, is It Takes Two.
Mm.
It Takes Two, of course, coming from everyone's favorite, Joseph Farah. He's the F the Oscars guy for those who
I
don't
know
know.
he's crazy, man, and he was funny. He is funny this time in this last awards, but
Yeah,
not as crazy as the time before. That's for sure.
yeah. If you don't have kids, you should go have them. They're great. Go get. He said, "Go get kids." I was like, man, He's just got like this beautiful energy, and it translates to his games, and that's
Yes.
something that you're really, you know, because we're in an era of social media and social interactions, multiplayer games, battle royale. That's the big thing. But one thing I've noticed is that we really haven't, like, co-op games have been kind of not necessarily dying, but they've been put to the back seat on the back
Oh
burner.
yes.
And nowadays you'll be lucky if you get co-op in something like, Gears of War, of course, is still the premier AAA co-op game, but then you look at everything else and there's really slim pickings. It Takes Two is a game that is meant for co-op. That's the only way you can play it. And you have to play it with someone that you really, really you like, whether it's your wife or your best friend or something. You want to play that game with them because it's so much fun trying to figure it out and just seeing the beautiful locales that are there and what they're pulling off in this game for how little in scale and scope it is. Like, I'm so surprised. It's really outclassing some of the bigger AAA titles. But yeah, if I had to pick three games that really stuck with me from last year, Death's Door, Guardians of the Galaxy, and It Takes Two.
And the momentum that they're gaining from A Way Out, which seemed
Oh
like
yeah.
a super small project at the time, and they were really kind of just trying to get that game out there. I think it was only like 20 or so. It wasn't very expensive when that game first
Mm-mm.
came out. So seeing them go from A Way Out, which is a lovely story, I highly recommend
Yes.
playing that if you
Yes.
haven't
So
played that
good.
game at all.
It's
Awesome
very good.
story. You wouldn't expect that. I got pissed off at the ending because it was like,
Mm-hmm. So wait,
how
what?
did I end up in
Which
this
character? Which
situation?
character did you pick?
I was the dude
Okay,
that
okay,
looks like Joseph.
okay, good. Because without getting to spoilers, one of the characters, it doesn't end so hot for them.
Right.
And I was the character where it didn't end so hot for them. And my boy always puts that against me because we played A Way Out and It Takes Two somewhat back to back. Obviously, like, when we're adults, we don't have all the time to game together, but we played that
You were
and
just
then we
on a
did It Takes
hazel
Two.
light. Just let's go.
Yes, exactly. And it was so much fun. And I love the story that they told in that game. And dude, the quality jump from A Way Out to It Takes Two is insane. Like, just like, yeah,
Mm,
A Way Out, there was some things that still to this day have not aged the greatest, but It Takes Two, how fluid it feels. Like, it feels like a legit platformer. It's crazy,
right.
man.
And even if you're not into that, like, because on the outside looking in, it looks like a story that you would play with your significant other only.
Hmm.
But like once you kind of dive into the story and kind of like if you're not really into that like divorce kind of thing, some people
Yeah.
are going through some things when they play that kind of game, so they don't want to be reminded of that
Yeah.
kind of stuff. That game has so much more than just like the story. There's mini games within it. There's all these kind of weird boss battles that you fight.
Yup. The
The
mini games.
yeah, flying and shooting with May on the. I mean, like I don't want to, I don't want to spoil that game for anybody, but grab your homeboy, play the game. It's on Game Pass right now if you got Game Pass.
Yes, sir.
But even if you don't have the Game Pass, one of you or your friend purchase that game because the other person will be able to play on that friend pass or something like
Yep.
that
And that's
for
another,
free,
like,
which is
dude.
dope.
And I know you remember this. If anyone was a handheld gamer, like, like, there were some handheld games like on the PSP and the DS that did that exact same thing, where if one person buys the cartridge and through the technology, someone else could play the co-op mode of it. Like,
Hmm.
dude, that is perfect. Yeah, what better way to, like, for an indie studio to do something like that to get people on board? That's incredible.
Right? They're just
Yeah.
like, hey, just play the damn game, try it out.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so those were excellent descriptions of why each game was kind of your game of the year. And you said the number one for you was Marvel's Guardian of the Galaxy, if I got that right.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, man. I mean, yeah, you're right. That game was fantastic. But what I want you to do for me, real quick, which might be kind of hard because this kind of stuff changes. a lot throughout time, especially if you've
Mm-hmm.
been a gamer for a long time. You've always had that studio that you're like, oh man, that's great, and then they start
Mm-hmm.
making some trash,
Yeah.
or they're not that good, and then they they rise up, like
Yep.
the rose in the concrete, right? So I want you to try to answer the best that you can. What's your favorite studio, and
Mm.
what game best represents it?
So yeah, that is tough, especially like the older we get in gaming. Some of the publishers and developers that we have now, they're
Aren't the same.
completely different. They are not the same. And for
BioWare is
some,
a good example.
oh man, for those who grew up in the heyday of BioWare, man, it was a different beast. That was the king of Western RPGs. Now, oh man, so sad.
All
But
sorts of
yeah,
EA companies actually could go in that same boat.
right. So it's kind of hard for me to pick one because you say one and that's your favorite developer and publisher, but they might not be in that same space. Like I'm inclined to mention something like BioWare because going through, like, dude, playing the Mass Effect games, it was one of the situations I didn't know this was possible in a game. Like I played KOTOR and I was like, wow, this is awesome. But then going from KOTOR to Mass Effect, especially Mass Effect 2, which was the big step up, well, obviously the narrative design was still there, great dialogue, great characters, but just seeing everything there dialed into level 11, it was just unreal, bro. That was the first time where I remember I was playing Mass Effect 2, and then immediately, like after I'd done something, I went online to see what other people were saying about this game. Like, what are y'all reactions to this? Like, because the intro of Mass Effect 2, I don't want to give this away, even though it's like a 12-year-old game. But the intro to Mass Effect 2 is still one of the ballsiest intros I've seen in a video game because of what they do, right? What they do. I was not expecting that after going through that. I was like, what? This is crazy. So I'm inclined to say BioWare. Another studio, honestly, very near and dear to my heart, would have to be Square. Squaresoft, Square Enix, whichever
Yeah,
incarnation you grew up
whichever
with.
version you want to call it.
Yeah,
I remember when it was
exactly.
SquareSoft though.
Yeah, we remember the days. They were different companies, Square and Enix. Like,
Hmm.
oh, we remember them days back in the '90s. But yeah, Square, what they were able to pull off back then was with stories like Chrono Trigger. Like Chrono Trigger, to this day, in my opinion, is still the best story that Square has ever told. I mean, there are some stories that I've liked a lot more, but Chrono Trigger and what they were able to tell with that story and make it make somewhat sense, especially when you deal with time travel. It's crazy. But Chrono Trigger, that game is still one of my top games from the company. And no matter how much I like to dunk on Square for all the really questionable decisions that they
Yeah,
make.
unpopular. They're really riding that unpopular kind of train as of
Yeah.
late, and they're kind of flaunting that money. Like, well, we're just gonna do it. Like, and you're just gonna gotta deal with it, and
Yep.
we'll see. We'll see who really loses at the end of the race. That's kind of what that kind of the stance that it seems like they're taking. Like they're just kind of willing to see who starts to fall off the boat, and they're gonna jump ship when they find it convenient to like.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you see what they said about NFTs and everything like that. I mean,
Yeah.
they just don't care too much. They don't put their ear to the ground as much as some of the other companies do as of right now.
Yeah, and I mean it goes far beyond that. I mean, I'm talking from the end of from the start of the PS3 era up until the mid generation of the PS4. Square was really like they were at the top of their game in the PS1, PS2 era, and then something happened in the PS3 era, and they were just posting nothing but L's, like left after right. Like it didn't matter which direction you were going; it was just L here, L there, and it pained me as a lifelong fan of Square. But then they sort of got a resurgence in the PS4 generation. They were putting out good games, like Near Automata. Final Fantasy 15 was a big blunder for them, but they had some other games like Dragon Quest that made up for it. So yeah, like I would definitely say Square in every incarnation. They're always special to me. They always will be special to me. BioWare is another good example of that. And companies like Rockstar. I mean, I'm very critical of Rockstar now because just the output of games they're putting, like, dude, just the fact that in the past 10 years, the only Rockstar games we've gotten have been GTA 5, GTA 5, PS4, Xbox One, Red Dead Redemption 2, and now we're getting GTA 5, PS5, Xbox Series. It's just I
Stop it.
understand the quality of Red Dead Redemption cannot be compared to anything else. Like that's a once in a lifetime kind of game. I get it. But man, just the era of Rockstar where we got things like the GTA trilogy back then, and then Manhunt, and then we had things like Bully, and then Midnight Club. Like there was
Ooh,
just
Midnight
so
Club,
much.
Dub Edition.
Yes.
Dub Edition
Yes.
was
Dub
the GOAT,
Edition.
bro.
Hell yeah.
We're talking about like for instance, I have that game for my PlayStation 2 and my Xbox.
Uh-huh.
When I want to play it, I usually play it on the Xbox because I can use my custom tracks with
Yes,
it,
sir.
right?
Yes, sir.
But I really don't need my custom tracks because that game has some ballin' music as it is. I mean,
Yeah.
you're talking about Manny Fresh, Cash Money's on there. Hell, Birdman's in your ear telling you what's going on throughout the game.
It was a different era. That was an era where because we were going into a transition when it came to just like the transition going from traditional ways people listen to music to now everything's streaming, and just what goes on with the copyrights and everything. They were a lot more lenient. Like if you go back and play some of those older games, like the older Tony Hawk games and all that, and listen to the music that was
Ooh.
approved for those, you would never hear that getting approved in a game nowadays. Hell no, it's
Oh
not
yeah, you had
possible.
Mass Appeal on
Mhm.
Tony Hawk Underground. Oh, Tony Hawk Underground was just
Yes,
amazing with the music that
absolutely.
they had on there. Even Dave Mirra BMX, they had what was it what was that trying to remember right off the top of my head. Dave Mirra BMX had like Sangria.
Hmm.
I mean, just the catalog of music that you had in like the Xbox and PlayStation 2 generation, even even the original PlayStation. Some of those games were just insane with the music that they were allowed to put on. But now it's like you can't even stream those games now. I mean,
Nope.
hell, like hell in Guardians of the Galaxy that we were talking about just a little bit ago. You got to
Yep.
go to a stream. You have to hit the stream button because it's playing licensed music throughout the game. So
Yep. Exactly.
you have to turn that on so it doesn't play any of that music, which makes the game hella dull
Dude, it's not
without
fun.
that
Like
music.
I'm playing through Life is Strange True Colors right now, and one of the things they do to get around that is they have a streamer mode where they can't play that music, so they just make up stuff. And sometimes it could be like complete silence, and they're just like pretending to like air strum the guitar, or they do something crazy. It's wild, bro. But they just do what they do. It's interesting how things work, how we went from that era of so much music in our games, and now, I mean, honestly, if it works for the best for the composers now, because they can craft their own scores and it could be just as memorable. Like Yoko Shimomura, she does the music for all the Kingdom Hearts games. She does some Final Fantasy as well. And just hearing her stuff, like, dude, some of her tracks are on my gym playlist. Like whether I'm going for a run or I'm just like lifting heavy, like, oh, it amps you up, bro. Amps you up.
Yeah, I used to have some playlist songs from Rocket League that I used
Wow.
to, yeah, just because they have some really smooth music, and I'd like to like clean up my house or something
Yeah.
like that just by listening to that music. Because not I don't always sometimes lo-fi and stuff like that is the
Yes.
way to go. 'Cause
Absolutely.
I ain't trying to hear no words. Especially I have a 4-year-old daughter. I can't be
Hmm.
jamming DMX all the time, right?
Nah.
I can't be doing that all the
You can't
time.
be
So.
doing that, man. when they come of age, they're gonna be like, yeah, this is what daddy listens to. That's what gets him hype when he's vacuuming.
Yep. All right, let's move on to the next thing, which is I'm kind of curious what you're excited for this year. If you were to like label your number one game that you're like hyped for, can't wait. What is it?
uh it's kind of hard because I don't know, anything can get delayed at any point.
Facts. Oh man, I was excited for Stalker 2 and look at us now.
Yep, end of the
December.
year. End of the year. That's a big delay too. It's like, man, we might as
8
well be in
months.
2023. Yep. So if I had to pick in a perfect world where nothing got delayed, my number one most anticipated game, and this is extremely surprising considering what we just talked about, is going to be Final Fantasy 16. And normally, like Final Fantasy 15, I tore open a new one when that game came out. I could not, just the amount of time we had to wait, and the game that we got, I was just very disappointed. But 16, just everything that I'm hearing about it is sounding very good. Like first things first, they opened up with the announcement with gameplay. Very rare for Square Enix. Usually we have to wait like 3 years, go through a whole master's degree just to get gameplay. We opened with gameplay, however rough it looked. And we actually got a glimpse into what this world could be. I love the staff that's working on this game because it's none of the previous troublemakers, I should say. Basically, Square has this problem. I'm not going to get too much into this, but they have this problem of giving too much power to certain individuals. Like you could do one good thing and they're like, okay, let's give him all the power to do whatever he wants. It's like, no, stop it. Like have a committee, have a team, make this stuff work. But the person who's helping to spearhead and produce this is actually the person who helped save Final Fantasy 14, Yoshi P. So he has a big hand in this game. Just in general, they're getting all the right people to work on this, people who understand how to make a game in a timely fashion. And that's very important for Square Enix, a company that spent like Kingdom Hearts 3 was announced in 2013. We didn't get it to 2019. That's insane to think about. Versus 13, 2006, we didn't get it to 2016. That's insane to think about. Even if there were development problems, like that's wild. So when I saw the people working on this, I was like, okay, this is a good sign. We're probably not going to get this for a year or two, but I know when we get it, it's going to be good. And every update has been just like, okay, we're working on this. Everything is going according to plan. And then now their most recent update, unfortunately, they said they're 6 months behind schedule, but you can't really fault them because of the whole situation in the world. Work from home has been really challenging. But if everything goes according to plan, I think that's probably going to be the best Final Fantasy game in a very long time. So that would definitely be my most anticipated game for 2022.
Man, I tell you what, I hope it is a banger because
Mm.
man, you looked back at me like a mad dad when you talked about Final Fantasy 15. You look like an
Dude,
angry
talk
father.
it. Man, listen,
Bruh.
oh god,
Bruh,
bro.
I seen the wrinkles come in right
The
here.
vein right
Strong.
there.
You were looking like you were about to unleash a new one on them.
I had to go, I'm not mad. I'm disappointed.
The classic dad right
Yes,
there. Classic.
exactly.
All right, that's what's up. So Final Fantasy 16, it's up to bat for you.
Yes, if all things go according to plan and it hits, we might be in for a home run. Fingers crossed. Fingers crossed.
So we've been talking about a lot of old games so far.
Mm.
You know,
Mm-hmm.
and I love old games. I grew up playing the Sega and
Yeah.
stuff like that. That was my first console. So I want you to kind of drive back into the future and I want you to think about two games that you would bring from the past
Mm-hmm.
and bring them to now and
Mm.
like all AAA
Mm.
dripping, looking
Mm.
good, fresh out the shower.
Dang.
Like what's happening? What two games would you go and Marty McFly that sucker and
Yes.
bring
All
it to the
right.
future?
All right. So I'm gonna say this. All right. So the first game, and I do not, in my wildest imagination, know why nobody has done this. Dino Crisis.
Oh, okay, let's go.
And here and this is exactly why. So I remember when I saw Jurassic World back in 2015, right? And then I saw how that movie set the world on fire. I'm like, bro, if there ever was a time for somebody to do another Dino Crisis, it's now. We have the technology, we have the 4K, dinosaurs can look realistic. That can be an incredible selling point. And to this day, no one has done that. Capcom, I don't know what they're doing, what they're sitting on. Like there's this is a literal gold mine. Dino Crisis would be incredible. You can have a nice single player narrative. If you want to have like a co-op mode for longevity's sake, you can do that too. That would be in my number one game. I've been trying to pimp that stuff out for we're going on 7 years now, which is insane to think about. But in addition to that, I mean, there's so many franchises of games and also game genres that aren't around anymore. So it is kind of hard to think about. But a game that I would really love to see come back, whether it's a remake or a sequel, would be Legend of Dragoon.
Whoa.
I know you've probably like this is not like alongside Dino Crisis this is always on people's list of games to get like remade or whatever. But Legend of Dragoon, it was honestly a game that came out at the wrong time because it came out after the Final Fantasy VII hype. So everyone was comparing every single game out there to Final Fantasy VII. And if you didn't live up to that pedigree, then you weren't shit. That's basically what it was. But one thing I just loved Legend of Dragoon's characters. I loved the battle system. I loved what they were able to pull off. They were really pushing the limits of the PlayStation 1, and now because they came out on the tail end of the PS1's life.
Did you ever get
Um,
into like Legends of Legia or
Legend of
Legaia?
Legaia.
Yeah, Legaia. There you go.
I dabbled in Legend of Dragoon a little bit, but not too much because that was an era where there was like so many different
I
RPGs coming
know
out,
it was
and when you're a
insane.
kid, and you can only choose to buy like one game at a time, and then wait for holidays, it was really rough.
Or the birthday.
Yep.
Yeah, yeah. You open it. You open it up. That card like it'd be like $10.
Yep,
So,
exactly, bro. And as kids, we made that stuff last for as
bruh.
long as we could. So yeah, that would be a game I would love to see be remade, especially in an era where we don't really have a lot of AAA Japanese RPGs. They're not really. I mean, you see something like Persona, which is probably the most acclaimed of the bunch, but that was still very limited. And if you play Persona, it's a very, very limited game because Atlas is a smaller team by comparison to a Square in terms of budget and scope. But yeah, I would love to see Sony commission a studio to remake that entire game, give it a fresh coat of paint, give it like updated dialogue, better voice acting, like so much. And I honestly believe that it could be a testament that JRPGs outside of what we know before, like the established pillars, like the Final Fantasies and the Dragon Quest, you can have them be on the forefront. They might not sell as much as The Last of Us or an Uncharted, but they can still be very relevant for people.
Oh
And
yeah. And
with
who's to
success
say
of
they
Nier,
can't
yeah,
in the future? Who's to
yeah,
say? I mean, look at the constant like decades of buzz that Final Fantasy has. Who's to
too,
say that there isn't room for something else? There's always room.
absolutely,
How many billions of gamers do we have out there? I mean, there's so many different ways to game, and you see Microsoft, and a lot of people talk a lot about Call of Duty with
mm,
this acquisition with Activision or whatnot. But like, I think about mobile a lot when I
mm,
think about this deal, and also messing around being with games on PC and stuff like that. Because WoW,
yeah,
StarCraft, I mean, there's a lot of room, and a lot of people are like saying monopoly or whatnot. But I'm thinking, like there is a ton of room, and if
absolutely,
anybody like at any point somebody can start up a business and make the next big game. You see all these kind of new developers that are like a one-man show
yeah,
running around making these badass. I mean, Tunic, for
yep.
instance. Tunic's
Tunic,
a perfect
Cuphead,
example.
Tunic,
Cuphead.
Cuphead, Axiom Verge, like so many games.
There's a lot
One
of
man
games that
solo
are
shows.
made by really small teams that blow up and become massive and can become cash cows. So I mean, there is room within gaming. I mean, now if Sony or Microsoft comes out and they're like, I'm gonna take Square, Capcom, EA, and this, then we can start talking about monopolies and stuff like that. But as of right now, I just kind of want to see where this stuff is taking us, because every other week it seems like I'm getting some sort of crazy news from PlayStation, Nintendo,
Sir.
or Xbox. There's just so much that to be proud about right now when it comes to gaming,
Yes.
and I'm one of those people where it's just like, please give me something else to consume. I'm ready. I'm ready to
I
eat.
think I think now, and I said this at the start of the generation, now is what better time than ever because you have PlayStation, who historically they've been doing their thing. They're always going to do their thing, very successful. And then you have Nintendo with their newfound resurgence with the Switch. They're starting to very conservatively greenlight a couple different games. But now you have Xbox that's finally fighting back. Like people don't realize like how bad that Xbox One generation was.
Mm,
They weren't putting out no type of like the 360. I'll just say it's the 360 era was peak Xbox. Like they were in
facts.
like outside the red ring of death. They were like all about everything. They were very aggressive with their third party deals, with greenlighting games. It was awesome. And now I think we're going to get back to that with what they're doing with their Xbox studios and now with Bethesda and now Activision. Like my only hope is that when all this stuff is figured out in the next like 3-4 years, that we can actually see some of these studios work on different franchises. Like High Moon, for example, I mentioned they did Transformers. I would love for them to not work on Call of Duty and work on something else. Like give us a singularity game. Like
Like
let
Raven, yeah.
Yup, like that's my biggest hope. And then when we start getting more of these games with so much more diversity, we get to that point where it's like we are so damn happy that we enjoy this medium because there's a little bit of everything and we can all coexist and have fun. Because while not everyone is gonna play something like a Singularity, I know there's gonna be an audience for it and people are gonna like it, you know?
Absolutely. Activision kind of reminded me of those like Age of Empire where they just got into a part where they had so many like subdivisions of things,
Yeah.
and then finally they were just like, you know what, we all need to focus on one thing. So they just went around clicking every single thing and said, attack this
Straight
one
up,
spot.
that's the best analogy.
Yeah, they just went attack for Call of Duty, everything, and you know, you kind of got what you got. Kind of, you know, not a whole lot of. I can't say there's not a whole lot of love or whatnot in it. There's probably plenty of that, but you know, there's people working on that game that don't want to work on that game, and that
Mhm.
sucks. That you know that, you know. But
Yep.
but let's go on ahead and move on. And this is gonna kind of take a different spin on everything. I kind of want to know what about gaming in general throughout your lifetime or even right now frustrates you, something that you just don't like.
Honestly, I mean the easiest answer, which I assume most people are gonna say, is they hate the fanboy console wars, they hate all that stuff. And I don't know if it's because I've become so apathetic to it over the past 14 years that I just because I equate console wars and stuff like that to how people argue over sports. Like you go into a barber shop, you go into a work break room with anyone that's interested in sports, they're gonna argue, they're gonna get ridiculous, they're gonna act like children. That's just what they
Sometimes
do.
that's fun, to be real.
Yeah. Oh, no
Sometimes
doubt.
it
Like,
is
dude,
fun.
NBA Finals? Oh my God, that's the most dude. People don't understand how much fun that shit is. And sometimes in console wars, it is funny. Like, for example, talking about the acquisition thing, there was that meme floating around where someone's just like, "Oh yeah, it was basically like Microsoft saying this, like, oh yeah, that developer is absolute dog shit. Acquire them for $70 billion." Like, it's like funny and shit like that. And people will say, like, they'll sit on their high horse and be like, "Oh, you should be better than this." But it's like, bro, are you telling me that sometimes you don't laugh at off-color humor? It's fun.
Right.
So that's why I don't really like, yeah, the drivel and people arguing and threatening to kill each other is dumb, and that shouldn't happen. You're grown ass people
Absolutely.
with bills and shit. Come on, there's better things to care about. But one thing I think I really want to see change in gaming is I want to see more community organizing. I want to see gamers putting their money where their mouth is, because everyone likes to complain, like $70 games. People like to complain about microtransactions, loot boxes, anything out there, right? I want to see people band together as a community to fight against the things that are a problem. Because what happens is when people start normalizing these things, that's when you get companies like EA. That's when you get companies like Ubisoft doing all this crazy stuff. Gamers, what they don't realize is that gaming as a hobby has grown very quickly. Like if you could compare gaming in the PS2 generation to now, no comparison whatsoever. Gaming is like 10, 20 times bigger. Um, and with the rise of that, when there's a lot of new money rolling in, you get a lot of people from outside gaming who think they know what's best with gaming. And unfortunately, a lot of people just they like, okay, I'll deal with this. That's fine. It's my favorite franchise, whatever. And what happens is that it's just that's what happens long term. It starts whittling deeper and deeper. It's like, oh, what's your favorite franchise? You won't mind this, you won't mind that. So I want gamers out there, if something is a problem and you know it's a problem, speak up about it. Like we have the power to dictate whether or not these companies make money, right? And yes, not like one person boycotting game is not going to change everything. But if it's a developer that actually listens and they see the backlash for something that is egregious and is definitely a problem, like Stalker 2, for example, there was that whole thing, the whole not NFT thing that was happening in their game. Obviously, gamers didn't like that. So what happened? 12 hours later, we've removed it from the game because our community doesn't like it. Like that's the type of stuff that I want to see more gamers get proactive about. Like we can argue about like the semantics of things like $70 and is that worth it? In an era where games are still incomplete and yada yada yada. That's a good discussion to be had. But for the stuff that is just a glaring issue and problem, people don't address it and they just act like no big deal until it's a problem. Like people don't want to be proactive; they want to be reactive. So I would say
It's convenient
gamers.
to be reactive though, because all you have to do is say your 2 cents and keep it moving. You know what I'm
Exactly.
saying? So it's easy to do that, but it's hard to be the one person to create a group and be like,
Yeah.
"Hey, this is the name of my group, and does and who wants to stand with me?" I
Yeah.
mean, that's hard to do, and to advertise and do that kind of stuff. I mean,
Oh,
it's
trust
not
me,
easy, but like if you're
dude.
that
During
passionate about it, if you hate the way that Activision treated, females and stuff like that, and you're yelling on Twitter about it, why is it downloaded onto your Xbox? Like
why you posted up with Call of Duty Vanguard? Why are you doing this? It's like people, they got to pick and choose, because I understand not everybody who worked on it, doesn't even matter if it's Vanguard or some other studio, but not everyone who worked on that is complicit in that. There's some developers out there
facts.
very talented, like Last of Us Part 2, for example. There was a lot of problems going on at Naughty Dog. So, it would feel weird for me to say this thing and then still go buy a game like The Last of Us Part 2. But I think in situations where you do have the power to take a stand, I think you should take a stand. And that's what I do. I try my best to do stuff like that, which is why I haven't bought an Activision Blizzard game in the longest time, not because of the whole sexual assault and the harassment situation, but just in general. I don't like the fact that all of their studios, whenever they put out something interesting and I enjoy it and I support it, they still get relegated to work on Call of Duty. So now it's like, okay, why would I even support your interesting new ideas if you are going to shuttle these studios and these creatives to work on Call of Duty just because you can't manage things correctly? Like that's more of a management issue. It's not because Call of Duty got so big that they're forcing them to do this. No, it's purely a management issue. There's no reason Toys for Bob, who just put out Crash, should be working on Call of Duty. It's just a management
It
issue.
don't even sound right.
Yeah. It does. It's like, yeah, we just put out Crash 4. All right, Warzone support. Okay.
Right. Oh man, that has to be disheartening for a person that got the job, let's say
Yeah.
for Toys for Bob, and they're like, oh man, I can't wait to work on this IP, and then you're told to go work on something like Call of Duty. You're like, whoa, like I
Yep.
don't mind helping y'all every once in a while, but you're saying that I actually have to work on this for a long amount of time. I have to
Yep.
put away good IP that I want to work on to go work on this. Nah. But anyways, moving
that
on.
noise.
Let's turn it back the opposite direction, and I want to know what like a dream come true for you would be within gaming.
A dream come true. So in what regard do you mean dream come true? You talk about like what game I would love to see, or like what do you mean by that? Because that's a very like open-ended type of
I know,
question.
and it's supposed to be answered just as open as it sounds. It can be
Okay. No
anything
guidelines.
in the world. You want there to be a new platform from Tencent to arise,
Please no.
I'm
Please no,
just
please
saying,
no.
like, just give me
Uh,
some random dream that you could say, man, that would be dope.
mm, I mean, honestly, like, yeah, everything just because I'm a gamer at heart. The thing is, like, as much as I want to say something like VR to the point where it becomes so easy as putting on a pair of glasses rather than a headset, to me, it's just going to come down to the games. And I would just want to see more creatives being able to craft the games that they want to make. That's what it comes down to. I don't necessarily need to see something that fits what a shareholder's idea of a video game is. I just want to see
Yes.
someone's interpretation of what they think a video game is, like that creative's interpretation. No matter how controversial it may seem. Like I know a lot of people have issues with The Last of
So
Us
you
Part
don't
2.
want to see any catering in a video game. You just want to see like full-fledged your story, pen,
Yes.
paper. Let me see it. It's like
Yep.
like it's done. It's delivered.
Yep, and
Great.
we can judge it like for what it is on its own merits. Like as controversial as The Last of Us Part 2 was, I love the fact that they told that story, because what other developer or publisher is going to be able to tell that kind of a story? So I love seeing developers do stuff like that. I love seeing games like Journey. I love seeing games like It Takes Two that's tackling the idea of divorce in the family, and how a divorce is not necessarily a mental or a physical thing. It can come from, you know, not addressing those smaller things in life before you get married. And that's how you drift apart. And that's why you end up getting divorced. Things like that are incredible. So I would just want to see creatives being able to craft more of the stories and experiences that they want to craft.
Hey, sometimes fighting against the grain, fighting against the cringe, going through those things that you don't really like ideally love, but you like the way the game plays and everything like that. Sometimes that helps you grow as a person. Really.
Absolutely.
Like it opens your eyes into what's possible or what you might not want to touch again or
Exactly.
like it lets you know a little bit more about yourself through playing. And I tell you what, when I played The Last of Us 2 and I beat that game, like so many feelings, so many
Mm-hmm.
like I hate this person and now I like them, but I don't like the way that they took care of this, and like what can I tell my daughter growing up, how
Yep.
to how to handle stuff, and like if something crazy like this happened to me, like how would I want her to handle it? And it asks more questions beyond just the video game itself. So fantastic. Very good. But we only have a couple more questions left.
Mm-hmm.
A little bit off topic, but what's something that nobody really knows a whole lot about you that you would be cool to kind of share with everybody?
So yeah, I mean, most of the stuff that I tell people is public knowledge. Like I'm very open about, I mean, just for example, on my videos, I don't try to hide this gamer stuff. So I'm very open with the fact that I love gaming and it's a huge part of my life. Like what people see on camera is what it is off camera. So, when you see me out and about, like if you look at my key ring, bro, I've got Thor's hammer, Mjolnir on there. I've got Captain America's shield. I've got the Keyblade from Kingdom Hearts. On my car, I'm getting decals from Persona 5. I've got,
Let's
like
go.
just stuff posted all up in my car. So I live and I breathe this shit no matter how cringe it might appear. Like some people like to separate their interests from their out
You're
and
a
day-to-day
walking
life.
ad, man. You're a
Like
walking ad.
I'm like within reason. Like when I buy graphic tees, I don't buy the stuff from Hot Topic. I buy the expensive stuff from Atsuko because it's actually high quality t-shirt material. So yeah, like I live and I breathe this stuff. I will never apologize for my hobbies and everything that comes with it. Like if you look at my gym playlist, I can go from playing Biggie to going to Yoko Shimomura's Kingdom Hearts track and then switching and going into something else. Like I love this stuff and I don't, like, I'm very passionate about it. It's not like I force feed it onto other people like, oh, these are my interests. But if someone were to ask me like, oh, because it's just the weirdest thing. The older I get, people get surprised that I play video games, which is so
Sure.
weird. Like as a kid, no one questioned it. But now as I get older, they're like, wait, you play video games? I was like, yeah, everyone plays. Even people who just play Call of Duty and FIFA, they play video games.
Right.
So yeah, like I'm very much so open about my passions and I don't try to hide that, which is something I notice a lot of people, they kind of, they're still working around. I know there was one post online, uh JD Witherspoon posted like, yeah, I went up to a retro video game store and I found out that this guy, his wife made him sell his entire collection because it was either me or the video games. Like she gave him that ultimatum. And I don't know
Mm.
what type of relationship that they had, but I would never
Not
want
the
to be in
right
a
one, bro.
relationship.
Not the
Exactly.
right
I
one.
would never want to be involved with someone who, like just like gaming is my passion, my hobby, no different than if whatever her interests are. And I won't belittle her interest if she likes to do makeup or if she likes collecting purses or knitting or what have you, or maybe she likes video games herself. Everything is about balance in life, but to make such an ultimatum is just wild to me. So I won't like ever hide the interest that, you know, as a gamer and as someone who enjoys a lot of entertainment, I do like my personal time. I like being able to just sit down and absorb a game, and not have to worry about spending all that time with a significant other. Like personal time is extremely important to me because a lot of these stories are what we said before, very personal experiences. So
I,
yeah,
I, I mean, anybody watching this, could you imagine somebody saying it's either me or the Super Bowl, or me or the
yeah,
gym, or
like
me
dumb.
or Taco Bell? Like,
Yeah, listen,
I
talk.
don't
It
get
might. I
it.
might have. I might
I
have to
might
choose
agree
that
with that
Taco
one.
Bell because if they bring back some of those fan favorite items, I mean, listen, like we ain't seen them shits in a hot minute.
But yeah, I'm just saying, like that, like to put somebody's enjoyment in a box and try to lock it away is just like the very meaning of we don't work together well.
Yep.
Like I couldn't imagine my lady telling me that. Luckily, my lady
Mm.
supports me
Yes,
through
sir.
thick and thin. Even if it's not something that she's 100% in love with, she still understands, hey, this is something that
Mm-hmm.
you need for you.
Yes.
And I give her that same respect. I don't like everything. She likes to work way too much. But I'm not gonna
Mm,
tell her to stop grinding. What kind of person am I to tell her that until it starts to like, I mean, if it bothered the kiddo, or
yeah.
if it bothered like our relationship, then yeah, then I'd step in and say something like, hey, like I've been cleaning up the whole house all the time, and you ain't done the dishes or done nothing in months. Like that, like that'd be one thing.
It's the disconnect that would be the problem, no matter how
Exactly.
noble it may appear, which it goes back to what we're saying. It's all about balance and communication, which is but that's like everything in life. You want to be a good communicator to say, hey, these are these things. And you also want to be a good significant other and
Right.
realize that like there's more to life than just your interest. But the problem is that we're seeing is that people are they say they're down with it until it becomes a problem where like,
Right.
okay, everything is going smooth, but you say something that she don't like. Oh, it's always that game you're on. Oh, blah blah blah. It's like,
Yep.
fam, don't bring the
It,
game into this.
it's
That
that back
Xbox ain't
pocket
do
wild
nothing.
card. Bam. It's
Yep,
that back pocket wild
exactly.
card. Yeah, I'm gonna call it when I want to call it, but there ain't no
Mm-hmm.
problem until there's a problem.
Yes, sir.
Gotcha. All right. So then, what do you enjoy doing outside of gaming?
Oh yeah. So outside of gaming, like I said, I'm a big movie buff, man. So like right behind me, that uh bookshelf over there is just filled with all types of Blu-rays and special editions of Blu-rays. And I've gotten into collecting a lot of 4K stuff. So I love watching movies. I love learning about movies. I love watching the behind the scenes features about how the movies are made.
Do you
And
swap movies like when there's like you have a
a
DVD of the
swap meet,
movie, but
a
like but
swap meet.
no, not like that. That's goofy.
I was a swap meet. Wow, we
No,
going way
no,
back.
no, not that. No, I'm saying like let's say a Blu-ray movie version of Spider-Man came out and you
Oh,
had it
okay.
on DVD. Are you swapping those? Or are you buying the Blu-ray and keeping the old DVD?
Oh, I see what you're saying. So yeah, I mean, just because of the nature of technology and how things goes, I'll always want to buy the best quality version available. So perfect example, I bought Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. That's be 3 years ago. No, yeah, about to be 3 years ago. I bought the Steelbook Blu-ray, and then they released it on 4K, and of course, I had to buy it in 4K. So what I do because of my collection, how it's set up is I just leave everything as is. So I keep the regular Blu-ray in the Steelbook case, and I'll display it in my Steelbook collection. But if I want to watch the 4K version, well, obviously I'd watch that one because 4K. I'll just
Right.
go pick it out from that collection. But I used to do that back in the day because there were like in the early days of Blu-rays, we sometimes weren't getting the great special editions that you got on DVD. So I would sometimes buy the special edition on DVD, buy the Blu-ray, and then I would do the whole swapping thing. So if I ever wanted to like show it off, I'd be like, oh, here's the special edition, but the DVD is in the Blu-ray case and the Blu-rays in the DVD special edition. But yeah, so I'm big into watching movies. Obviously, I do the content creation stuff, so that takes up some time too.
Very.
Um, Other than that, like I love the gym. I love working out at the gym. Go to the gym 5 times a week. I'm really big into that. Like all these hobbies sort of mesh with one another because working out in the gym, like what I did was I applied my consistency with content creation into working out. And it's like one of those things where it's like everything meshes in life. If you could overcome this, you can overcome that, which is why I've been able to stay consistent with the gym for almost a decade now, always trying to do different things, like one section I'm focused on calisthenics and then next I'm focused on powerlifting and all that. So yeah, just a lot of nerd shit, a lot of working out stuff, and of course spending time with family and friends, whether it's virtually or in the real, because I always believe whatever time you get to spend with people is a gift and you should cherish that no matter what, because
Facts.
tomorrow is never promised. No matter what people say, in the blink of an eye it can be gone. So you just no, no matter how cliche it sounds, you got to make the best of every single situation that you have. So always remind the people who are closest to you that you love them and you appreciate them, because you never know when you're going to have that last conversation for good.
Absolutely beautiful, beautiful stuff, my man. So I have a show where I ask you all the questions, right?
Mm,
But I'm kind of wondering. I never really asked this question throughout this show, but now that we're
mm.
live, I think that yeah, this is my first
Might as
live
well do it
behind
live,
them
bro.
sticks. I'm wondering, do you got any questions for me, bruh? Any at
Yeah,
all?
absolutely, Ham Solo. So my
Okay,
question
what's
for
up?
you is, what makes Ham Solo tick?
Ooh, man.
Yeah.
So what kind of makes me tick is when someone is so like in gaming, are you saying per se?
So, oh no, not really. Like, so for me, is like when I say what makes you tick, like what fills your cup, like what makes you who you are, what gives you the strength to persevere throughout the day. Like, it's just saying all this is like a roundabout question. Like, what makes you you? Like,
Oh, okay.
it could be something that is just so personal to you that maybe you might not want to share it, but like what makes you who you are, where you're just like, this is me, this is who I am, and I don't care what anybody says, you know?
Okay, so what makes me me would be just like people. I love people. I mean, as much as it's popular to say, oh, I hate everybody, or I love my puppy more than I like actual people and stuff
Every female dating app profile in a
oh my
nutshell.
goodness, man, I hate it when I hear stuff like that. I literally don't like it when I hear stuff like that. It drives me insane because I feel like as many crazy some people that there are in the world and crazy ways of thinking and whatnot,
Yeah.
I have a very Midwestern voice.
Yeah.
I've had people ask me silly questions like, what race are you and stuff like that, like, and like I used to get really offended when people
Yeah.
asked me that because
Yeah.
um, I didn't know how ignorant other people were. I just were
Mm-hmm.
I just thought they knew better. Well, like growing up, you start to notice you can't assume people know anything. You just
Yep.
have to go into most stuff thinking that they know nothing and just
Yep.
let them surprise you.
Exactly.
So
Go in with the lowest expectations.
so
Don't
absolutely.
assume.
So with that being said, um I tend like I used to have a telemarketing job, right?
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, Midwestern accent. People would ask me what race I am and stuff like
Uh-huh.
that. Same thing on like Xbox live parties and
Yes,
just
sir.
I mean until they went to my like Facebook or Twitter or something and they noticed I was black. I was like, oh shit, he's black. What the hell? But
Yep.
like, but that stuff used to bother me a little bit, and it doesn't really bother me anymore because I feel like that's my like mysterious voice. Like you're talking to
Mm.
me like the person you wish to see.
Ah, that's right. That's
Right?
one of the tricky ones right there.
So I get to talk to a lot of people, a lot of different types of people throughout my life over the phone. Like I said, I was telemarketing and whatnot. And
Yeah.
I noticed that 9 times out of 10, this person's a good person.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's very few times. I mean, obviously, calling people telemarketing, you're gonna get some asses.
Of
You're
course.
gonna get people that are that are trolling you on the phone or messing
Yeah.
with you or people that ain't got time for you, which is fine. But if you like know how to use your words, know how to you know conduct yourself in
Mm-hmm.
just a respectful manner, most people will tune their ears up at you and be willing they may not agree with you, but they will be willing to hear what you have to say. And just being able to be in control of somebody else's time, for me, makes me tick. Like, you're
Mm.
giving me a piece of your life right now. You, literally, NeoGameSpark, you're giving
Yep.
me a piece of your life right now.
Uh-huh.
You're sharing and letting me extract some sort of information out of you. This is positive. I mean, sometimes you get into situations where people are trying to extract the wrong type of information.
Yeah.
But I specifically like to do things in a positive way as much as I can. Sometimes I get caught up into the whole trolling thing
Yeah,
and
of
like I
course.
have a little bit
It
of fun.
happens to the
But
best of
but
us.
but
Yeah.
but, like you said earlier, who doesn't enjoy a little bit of naughtiness every once in a while? Everybody likes a
Yeah,
little bit.
man.
I mean, it's okay to go have a Snickers every once in a while, but if I'm just sitting in the Snickers section just tearing them all up,
That's
there's an
not
issue.
good for you, man.
That ain't good for you. So I'm a human like everybody else, but I
Mm-hmm.
do literally enjoy people.
Mm-hmm.
I like having their time, and I don't like to waste it. I like to
Yes.
get the best out of them that I can at least extract out, and try to use that in a positive way. So then I can, because I'm not a big churchgoer or whatnot, but I do believe you reap what you sow.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm trying to reap benefits more than I'm trying to reap any kind of negativity. So that's a little bit about a Ham Solo right there, bro.
Eloquently said, my friend, and it's true. Like, I'm not trying to make this out to be like some like huge, like cosmic sort of way of thinking, but yeah, like just us having this conversation in this moment of time with how vast time is and how long it goes on is honestly incredible. You know, just being able to have the conversations and dialogues with people. Some situations, some of them are better than others, but
Facts.
that's just something beautiful. Like for that fleeting moment, you don't know how someone's going to take that conversation, what it'll do for them. Like I've gotten scores of emails and messages in the past from people saying like, "Hey, you acknowledging me during your stream and just talking about these things really made my day and it made me feel better." And it just goes to show you like you never know who you're going to impact in life. And I'm not saying that you have to be some altruistic nice person for the sake of being nice and that'll get you brownie points, but I think if you provide the best version of yourself, whatever version of that self you are, I think that's like one of the things where it's like you can die empty. You can go to bed with no issues whatsoever, no clouds over your forehead. And I think it just goes from there. Like, because if you show how you act and someone really resonates with that, maybe they'll provide that same energy to somebody else, and it keeps going from there. So yeah, I totally get it, man.
Yep, and I'm your definition overthinker as well.
Mm.
I like to overthink a lot of things. So if I do something negative or wrong to somebody, I'm like that person like that's at the stop sign too long thinking there's something ain't feeling quite right.
Yeah.
Like I don't really
Like
think I should get into intersection right now. This looks like I'm gonna
why
die.
is the red light taking so long? Yeah, and dude, sometimes those chance encounters, like if you were 1 second sooner, you could have ended up in a collision. It's true.
Yeah, man. But anyways, last thing I'm gonna ask you real quick to describe for me is gaming in just 3 words.
Gaming in 3 words.
Yes, sir.
Gaming in 3 words. It's fucking beautiful. There we go.
Oh man, damn, that was
Straight
raw.
up. Exactly. Guys, it's fucking beautiful. Bro, sometimes you just play a good game, you're like, I fucking love video games, man. That's how it be feeling sometimes.
You were raw right off the rip, man. I love it. I
Hmm.
love it. I love it. Well, thank you everybody that came and watched the show, hung out with us. Whether you just joined or if you been here the entire time, I really thank you for that, definitely. But
Shout
please
out,
make
shout out,
sure,
shout out.
yeah, please make sure to hit that like and subscribe button. Neo, you got any departing words?
Oh man, well, Ham Solo, thank you so much for the opportunity to be on your show and talk to your people, man. I really appreciate it. Great conversations all around. It was also really cool. I like how you added in the question of, do you have any questions for me? Because that is something I think that we need to start doing more of in life.
Yeah.
Getting to know one another, and it was great for however little time we had. The fact that I got to know you and I got to know about you and how you tick in your life and everything was honestly beautiful, man. So again, I appreciate the opportunity. Thank you so much to everyone who was watching live and you guys in the chat. You're awesome. And make sure to support your content creators, man. Share out those videos, hit the like button. It's free and it takes a couple of seconds, but it could literally change the world for these people you support, man. And that's something I'll always stress. Always stress.
Yeah, let's change each other's lives. And for
Yes.
anybody watching this that thinks that they would like to be on the show, whether it's recorded or live, I'm willing to do it for you. So if you're not comfortable doing things live, I'm more than happy to do something recorded, and and we can set up a time to sit down, do it, and I'll either put it in my Tuesday or Thursday episode, depending on how things line up. But I appreciate everybody that came through to watch you or watch me and NeoGameSpark.
Yes, sir.
I definitely appreciate y'all. Y'all have a wonderful night. Thank you for your time. Peace out.
Peace.